looking out for our community.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
Okay.
That's it.
You're looking out for my community. That's what you mean to say.
If this is your store, you're part
No,
of
not
the
even if
community.
this is my store. I've already told you it's my store. Don't use the what if.
Okay.
I've told you it's my store.
Okay. Then we're looking out for
don't
your
use the what
community.
if. Okay.
Do you want us to look out for your community?
I do.
Underdog Research channel, police and citizen encounters looking out for their community. Is that what we're about to watch, or is it something else? Every day, folks, there are police encounters, some good, some not good. And the important thing is what is good and what is not so good about these interactions. Well, here I'm going to talk about a situation that occurred that you may have that question. Is this a case of a good cop, or is this a case of a bad decision? I'll let you be the judge. Let's talk about this. This conversation is going to start with this company. Right here are the CEOs, and it is YEMA Khalif and also another person named Hawaii Awash. Now, these individuals own a company called YEMA, and it's based out of California. Now, to go a little bit more in detail, what do they bring to the table through this business? It was inspired by East African lineage, and a Bay Area's urban streetwear is a high-end clothing brand located in Tiburon, California. Now, the two founders, they take 20% of their sales to go toward educating children in their native countries, and their home of record originally was the great continent of Africa. Now that you know a little bit about them, let's talk about what happened. I'm about to show you an interesting clip. And it's interesting because typically with that video, we have two perspectives. We had a perspective of the person, the citizen, and the perspective of law enforcement. Here, we have a rare opportunity because I did research and I acquired both. And what we're going to do, we're going to go through this scenario, which I'm about to set up for you. And then we're going to go through from the perspective of the citizen and from the perspective of law enforcement. And we're going to meet somewhere at the end, and we're going to discuss this, and you give your thoughts. Based on my years of experience, I am going to give you my thoughts, and let's see if I can help you learn a little bit today. Now, let's go ahead and set up what the scenario is about. This video will show a incident involving three people, three citizens and three officers. Now, you already met the first two, but there will be an unknown person which was in the story, which you'll hear about in a second, and also three officers from Tiburon, California. Now, let's talk about setup and foundation. Then we're going to get right into it. So the setup, so you can understand more about what happened. Context matters, right, folks? The setup is this is in California. The time is 1 a.m. And at the time in which this occurred, a police officer approaches a business that he identifies from visually seeing three individuals within the business. The lights are on inside the business. And for some reason, this was considered suspicious enough that they wanted to check it out. So the police officer approached this business and began to ask inquiries about why people were inside the business at 1 a.m. And then let's look at the whole perspective. Something happened because of this interaction, and now it's time to think about it and find out if this is a good cop or a bad decision. Let's first start, though, with the people in which this situation evolved, because we want to see exactly who we're talking about. So again, I just showed you the six, but here we go. YEMA Khalif, Hawaii Awash, one unknown person visiting from Washington, D.C., and on police officer side, Officer Isaac Mattis, Sergeant Blasey, and Officer Jeremy Clark. Now that we've introduced the members who were present during this, let's now play the scenario from the perspective of the citizen. Here we go.
ስቶፕ ነው አይደል? ምን አገባ እዚህ ጋር ቡና ብቆይ አይገባውም እሱ።
Okay. You tell him to come talk to you. Okay, where's the supervisor? Okay. Yeah. Supervisor, how are you doing? You came, three of you guys. What's going on? What's the problem? There's 3 black people in the store. What's the problem? Exactly. There's 3 black people in the store, 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the problem? There's 3 black people in the store. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the problem?
It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And
Yes.
you don't have any activity at the store at that time.
Okay.
Is this your store?
Well, so what's the problem with having 3 black people in the store?
You keep emphasizing black people. That's
Yeah, you cannot tell me you don't see that. You see that 3 black people in the store. What's the problem with that?
I see 3 people in
I
the
see
store
black
at
people
1
in the
o'clock
store.
in the morning.
I see
1 o'clock in the morning. The
Okay.
street's closed up at 9 o'clock at night. There's
Okay.
nobody here.
Okay, so what's the problem?
That's the problem. This
Okay.
street closes at 9 o'clock at night and there's
Okay.
never anybody in here.
Okay.
This is regular business hours. There's
Okay.
no customers in there.
Okay.
Is it your store? That's all we want to know.
Like, you want to know why?
I want to know what you're doing in the store at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, if I tell you it's my store, then what?
Then show me that it's your store.
I do not have to show you nothing. If I tell you
What?
it's my store, then what?
Now we have to show.
I do not have to prove anything to you. If I tell you if it's my store, then what?
Aren't you glad we're looking out for your store?
I am glad you're looking out for my store, but if I
Okay.
tell you it's my store, then what?
Then you should be grateful that we're being as diligent as we are to look out for the street. That's all we do.
Okay, it's my store.
Okay.
Okay?
Did you identify
I
yourself?
do not have to identify myself to anybody. It's my store. Okay, then what?
Did anybody call saying the store?
Yeah, exactly. So it's my store. So what?
Can you prove that it's your
I do
store?
not have to prove anything to you.
Actually, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. To who and to why?
Oh my God.
I do not have
Yes,
to prove
you
my
do have to
existence to
prove
you.
who you are.
I do not have to prove my existence
You are in
to
the
you.
store
Yes.
after hours when the
Yes.
stores are closed
Okay.
on the street all night.
Okay.
This store, the last store that closes is Sam's Anchor Cafe right over there.
Okay.
And it closes at 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
There's 3 people in the store in the middle of
Okay.
the, excuse me, I'll put this on now.
Okay. Okay.
There's 3 people in the store in the middle of the night. We are
Okay.
doing what we're supposed to do. We're looking out for our community.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
Okay.
That's it.
You're looking out for my community. That's
Yes.
what you mean to say.
If this is your store, you're
You know what? If this is my store, I've already told you it's my store. Don't use the word if.
Okay.
I've told you it's my store.
Okay. Then we're
Okay?
looking out
So
for
don't
your
use the word
community.
if. Okay. All
Do
right.
you want us to look out for your community?
do
Or
want
you want
you
us to let anybody just walk in here at 2 o'clock in the morning and steal all your stuff?
I want you to look out for my
You
community.
sure?
Yeah.
You don't sound like you're very grateful.
No,
You
no, no.
sound like you're very defensive.
No. I do not sound this defensive.
Really?
Hey.
Come on now.
Calm
You're
down.
being very defensive.
No, calm down.
My officer is
Calm
doing
down.
his job.
Your officer's not doing his job.
Yes, he is.
Listen.
Yes, he is.
Listen.
He is doing his job.
Hey.
He is
do not-
following the policy of the chief of police at Tiburon PD and keeping his eye on Main Street, which is our jurisdiction.
Yes, and I'm telling you,
Okay.
you're telling me what you're telling me.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I do not have to prove my existence to you. I do not
It's
have
not
to.
your existence.
Yes,
You're in a
calm
location
down.
that you're not. You're
You
in a
said your
location that we have never
You
seen
said
you at
your
before.
piece. You said your piece. It does not fucking matter where I'm at before. I do not have to prove to you that where I go, that right here.
Where
I
are
have
you
to
getting
prove.
this information that you don't have to prove that you
Listen, you're not listening to me.
because you're not making sense.
Just because I am fucking
Okay,
making
there's
sense.
not
the
making
point
Because
now.
you have not never seen me here before, I do not have to prove to you that I have to be here. That's what I'm saying.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, ask
This is your store.
Yes.
That's
So
it.
the next time
Yes.
I come here and there's
Yes.
3 totally different people here,
Yes.
I don't care what color they are.
Okay.
3 people in your store at 2 o'clock in the morning. Do you want us to walk by and not do anything? Because we can.
You've seen me.
We can do that.
You've seen me.
No.
But it could be
Yeah,
3 of your employees.
So,
You've seen me,
so we
right?
have an alarm system. If the alarm goes off, obviously you come and you'll do that. And I think like if the police officer knocked and asked hey, are you guys the owners and are you guys just here? Then I think that's one way of going about it. That's not what really happened, and I think we're just wasting time.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, he is the owner. So what should
Yeah,
we do
but
now?
did the alarm go off though?
What is the next step? Like, let's wrap this up.
We're supposed to look out for this neighbor.
But that's right here that says right with security. What do you mean you're not saying?
And half of those aren't even half of those don't have active.
Okay,
alarms.
baby, what's
Okay,
the point?
all right. So I want to wrap up.
Yeah,
this
let's
because
wrap
we're
up.
wasting time. So what's going on? What's up? What's the next step?
Can you just?
This is my store. Okay, okay.
Yes, yes,
That's a perfect
yes.
thing.
Okay, okay.
You know what? Get the key in the door and we're out of here.
Yeah.
Put the key in the door.
Put the key in the door. If this is your store, you have the
No,
key.
no, no, I'm telling
There you
you.
go.
Stand back, please. Do not raise your voice at me.
Put the key in the door.
Don't
We're out
raise
of
your
here.
voice at me. Just chill. I'm gonna put my key in the door.
What's that? Thank you very much. That's all I need to know. Thank you. See ya.
Where you the women?
Oh my god.
It's so crazy, yeah.
I'm not gonna put the key in the door.
Your supervisor said that's done.
That's your supervisor.
Okay.
Just say
Walk away.
Walk away.
You also walk away. You also walk.
Okay. That was explosive. That was the perspective of what happened. So I don't think you may have heard it. So let me play what was said at the very end of the last video. It was very quick. Let me play something for you. Check this out.
They are.
The next step.
Can you just?
This is my store. Okay, okay.
Yes,
There you go.
yes,
That's a perfect
yes.
thing.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? Get the key in the door and we're out of here.
Yeah.
Put the key in the door.
Put the key in the door. If this is your store, you have the
No,
key
no,
in the
no,
door.
I'm telling you.
There you go.
Stand back, please.
There
Do
you go.
not raise your voice at me.
Put
okay?
the key in the door.
Don't
We're
raise
outta
your
here.
voice at me. Just chill. I'm gonna put my key in the door.
What's that? Thank you very much. That's all I need to know. Thank you. See ya.
Where you the women?
Oh my god.
It's so crazy.
So you may have missed that, but what you heard was someone, an unidentified individual, it sounds like they're pretty far away, yells at the police, that's his store. And after they heard that, that's all they needed to satisfy their suspicion, wherever that suspicion might be. But that's what occurred. Now, interestingly, if you pay attention, there's something else also said that is important prior to them walking off after that unknown person yelled out that is store. So let's go back to that video and listen to that. This is going to matter in just 1 second. Check this out.
I'm not gonna put the key in the door.
Your chief of police said
is walking
that's
away.
done.
That's your supervisor.
Okay.
Just say
Walk away.
Walk away.
You also walk away. You also walk.
All right. I just had to make sure you heard that. The police officer then asked, even after the sergeant had said, that's enough, with hearing someone from far off say, that's his store, he then asked again, this other officer, can you at least put the key in the door? All right. So you just heard this perspective from the recording from the unknown person inside the building of the store, YEMA. Now, there's a lot to unveil here, but I'm going to wait. Now let's hear the police officer's version, and I'm going to give a little bit of substantive comment in between. So this is the body camera footage from the police officer. This is what they saw.
Hey guys, I've never seen you open this late.
Yeah.
You just restocking?
No, just doing our thing.
Just doing your thing? What's your thing?
What's up?
Well, I've never seen anyone in the store this
Is there
late.
a problem? No, just chill, chill. Is that a problem?
No, sir, there's no problem. I've never seen anyone in the store this late. I wanted to come check in, make sure
There's
everything's
no
okay.
problem going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys restocking the store, or
There's no problem going on.
why are you here so late?
It does not matter.
It does matter.
To who?
To me.
Why?
Because the store's never open this
Is
late.
it your store?
No.
And then what? If it's not your store, what's the problem?
I'm making sure that everyone is okay
There's
down
no
here.
problem going on. So if you have a problem, you let me know right now if there's a problem.
I just want to know why you guys are here so late.
It does not matter. That's
It does not matter. All right, so we got to think about this real quick. We're going to go through this, and this is where I'm going to give my commentary about what I'm seeing here. We have, in this particular instance, a person being approached by police. So I think the first question that's in most people's minds is, does the police have the right to approach you? Was there a violation of their constitutional rights? Is there anything wrong with it? And let me go ahead and tell you that there's not. And this is why. If we look at this, federal laws specifically talk about this. It allows police to speak to you consensual conversation without violating your constitutional rights. So police can do that, but we've heard that before. What I want to do here is do something different. Where in federal law does it say this? Well, it says it under this Supreme Court hearing. Remember, we live in a nation of laws. Most people only quote the Constitution. Don't forget, our laws are made up of not only the Constitution, but also the Supreme Court creates laws based on cases that have occurred. And we have to abide by that. We can't just remember part of it. The law specifically discusses this from a United States versus Mendenhall case. It happened in 1980. And this is what it says. A person is seized only if, in the view of all circumstances surrounding the incident, a reasonable person would have believed that he was not free to leave. This is under the consensual encounter doctrine. What this means is police officers may approach and talk to individuals in public. If the encounter is voluntary and the individual feels free to leave or not answer, it is not considered a seizure under the Fourth Amendment. Key conditions of a consensual encounter: no display of authority, guns drawn, blocking exits, or commanding tone, no physical contact or restraint. So what we see right now at this particular point, the officer saw and observed something that the officer felt was suspicious. He wanted to see why people were in a store after hours. He knocked on the door. From what we see, the person came out, spoke to them, and the officer is asking questions. Right now, as the person speaks at this point in the particular circumstance, does the person being approached feel they could leave or have to answer? If the person feels they can't leave or they have to answer and they can't remain silent, then that changes this, and it does not meet the consensual encounter doctrine, which is here again at United States versus Mendenhall, 1980. This is important. So we want to first look at this and say, yes, the police officer had the right to approach the citizen. Now, as the conversation progresses, I want you to uphold the consensual encounter doctrine requirements, which is that it will be consensual as long as the person feels free to leave or not answer questions. If the police officers change that, or the circumstances change where the person doesn't feel free to leave or doesn't feel free to not answer a question, then this is no longer consensual. It moves into custodial. And if it's custodial, there's certain rights that have to be applied. So let's see what happens with this scenario as it progresses. Let's keep watching.
Can you take a hand in your pocket, please?
It does not matter to me.
Can you just tell me why you guys are here?
It does
I'll let
not
you
matter.
go.
Call your supervisor, tell him to come here, and then...
Did one of you two own the store?
no,
have any reason
do
to
not
be here?
talk to anybody else. Talk to me. You're talking to me right now.
No, I'm talking to all three of you.
You're not.
'cause all
You're
three
talking
of you
to
are in the
me,
store.
sir. Okay? You're talking to me. Call your supervisor and let him come here.
He's already on his way.
Okay, so when he's here, you let me know.
No, why don't you come out here for me?
No, I'm not gonna. Do you have a problem with me?
This is an interesting part of the dialogue. You just saw we're continuing with the body cam footage from the police officer. The police officer is having this discussion with this individual that they see in the store. The police officer has determined that they find the person and other people in the store after hours being suspicious to them. They had the right to approach. They had the right to ask questions as long as it is consensual. Then we have a response. The person says, call your supervisor that's inside the store. They said they're going to go back inside the business. The police officer that responds to them, no. Now, we know that when he said no, that he's not talking about no regarding calling the supervisor. He's saying no to him being able to leave and go inside of the business because he said his supervisor was already en route. So when the person who you spoke to broke off the consensual conversation and they said they're going to go back into the business and the police officer then responded no, that is a problem. He also started the process of his own personal security. The police officer said, can you take your hands out your pockets? Now, these are actions and words of a person who is viewing this person as a potential threat. Is there anything wrong with the police officer asking him to do so? No, there isn't. However, the problem is this conversation just changed from consensual. Therefore, it no longer meets the standards at this point under United States versus Mendenhall 1980, because as we learned in the Supreme Court ruling on this consensual encounter doctrine with law enforcement and citizens, a person must feel free to leave or not answer questions. Clearly here, the person was not free to leave and go back into the business. The police officer gave them instructions by saying no. We know they're not talking about their supervisor being on the way because they said their supervisor is already en route. The person said he was going to break off the conversation until the supervisor got there. The police officer wouldn't allow him to. Therefore, this is no longer a consensual doctrine encounter. This is now a custodial conversation. And now that the police have detained this person under the law, there's rights that have to be asserted. Once you are detained under the law, we got to go into that little thing called Miranda rights. Those are your what? Constitutional rights. So let's keep going and see how the police officer progresses. And when the sergeant arrives, will it get any better or will its conversation continue to go down the wrong route? So let's see what happens.
Do you have a problem with me?
I have a problem with you three being in the store right
Is
now.
this your
not
store?
telling me
That's
why.
what I'm asking you.
This town is my duty to protect.
I live here. Do not tell me about whatever.
That's fine.
Okay.
Where do you live?
I'm not going to answer your question. When your supervisor is here, you tell him to come talk to me.
No, he's right here.
Okay. You tell him to come talk to me.
He's on his way.
Okay, where's your supervisor?
He's right there.
Okay, tell him to come then.
Okay.
Yeah. Supervisor, how are you doing?
That's right. How are you?
You came, three of you guys. What's going on? What's the problem? There's three black people in the store. What's the problem with that?
So it's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's three people in the store.
There's
They want
three
to
black
know why
people in
they're
the store, 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the problem?
This street's closed up at 9 o'clock at night. There's
Okay.
nobody here.
Okay, so what's the problem?
That's the problem.
Okay.
This street closes at 9 o'clock at night and there's
Okay.
never anybody in here.
Okay.
This isn't regular business hours. There's no
Okay.
customers in there.
Okay.
Is it your store? That's all we want to know.
This is a wonderful thing about having two perspectives. We first had a perspective from the citizen. We walked through that. Now we got body cam video from the police officers. We're catching the conversations so we can understand the full picture. Sergeant gets there. What does the sergeant do? His tone right now is stating more accusatory, if you ask me. He's saying that the suspicion is there's three people in the store. Now, I looked at the back. I don't know why this is suspicious personally, because you see the lights are on. I mean, if you're going to break into a store, there's certain things you wouldn't do. You wouldn't keep the lights on. There wouldn't be such attention drawn to you. It's very obvious that the way the people are dressed and the lights being on in the store, you can clearly visible. They're not trying to hide any activity. So it's already starting to have issues with this encounter from a suspicion standpoint. Why is it suspicion? Because of the hours. There's Walmart, Sam's Club. People are in the store after hours stocking up on things that are needed for the next business day. There hasn't been anything that I could see so far that should be suspicious other than the fact of what the owner said. There's 3 black people in the store. And that is a bias that some may have in their mind, that they see those individuals and they have a subconscious bias that there must be something suspicious going on. There was nothing suspicious based on 3 people being in the store after hours. This is normal for any business that has stock. But we're going to go through that in a minute. This sergeant here, it starts to say that they will need to verify the reason that they're in the store, and the business owner has a problem with that. And we remember at this point, this is custodial control. Tone matters. So let's see if the sergeant's tone changes or the police officer's tone changes. As we saw in the doctrine, if there's a commanding tone and the person does not feel free to not answer questions, this further establishes custodial control. That person is being detained. And there's a difference between being detained and not being detained. So let's keep going and see what happens. Do the police officers realize this, or does it continue to go down the wrong path? Here we go.
Like, you want to know why?
I want to know what you're doing in the store at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, if I tell you it's my store, then what?
Then show me that it's your store. and
I
we'll
do
have
not
it.
have to show you nothing. If I tell you it's my store, then what?
But you're
I do
trying
not
to
have
make-
to prove anything to you.
Is this
if
your
I tell
store?
you if it's my store, then what?
Aren't you glad we're looking out for your store?
I am glad you're looking out for my store, but if I
Okay.
tell you it's my store, then what?
Then you should be grateful that we're being as diligent as we are to look out for the street. That's all we do.
Okay, it's my store.
Okay.
Okay?
Did you identify yourself?
I do
to
not
the
have to
officer?
identify myself to anybody. It's my store. So, okay, then what? Yeah, exactly. So it's my store. So what?
Can you prove that it's your
I
store?
do not have to prove anything to you.
Actually,
sir.
you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. To who and to why?
Oh my God!
I do not have
yes,
to prove
you
my
do have to
existence
prove
to you.
who you are.
I do not have to prove my
You
existence
are in
to
a
you.
store
Yes.
after hours when the
Yes.
stores are closed
Okay.
on this street all night. We're looking out for our community.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
Okay.
That's it.
You're looking out for my community. That's
Yes.
what you mean to say.
If this is your store, you're part
No,
of
not
our
that if
community.
this is my store. I've already told you it's my store. Don't use the word if.
Okay.
I've told you it's my store.
Okay, then we're looking out for
don't
your
use the word
community.
if. Okay.
Do you want us to look out for your community,
do
or
want
do you
you
want
to-
us to let anybody just walk in here at 2 o'clock in the morning and steal all your stuff?
I want you to look out for my
You
community.
sure?
Yeah,
Because you
sure.
don't sound like you're very grateful.
No,
You
no, no.
sound like you're very defensive.
Oh, you sure? You don't sound like you're very grateful. You sound like you're very defensive. Whether or not at this point it's clear to you, it's very clear to me. This is no longer a consensual encounter. The citizen is not free to leave. That was established by the officer. They're not free to not answer questions. They are being commanded to answer a question under the cloak of it being a lawful order. When they stated that they don't have to identify themselves to prove that they're the business owners, these are different requests. First, the law enforcement officer, the sergeant now on the scene, says you need to, 1, identify yourself. That's one question. And then 2, prove that you own the store. Now, remember what we said under what's considered consensual. This is the law, Supreme Court law, consensual encounter doctrine. Again, if the encounter is voluntary, the individual feels free to leave or not answer questions. If it's a point where they feel they have to answer questions, then this is a seizure under the 4th Amendment. And what are the conditions that makes it consensual? Well, display of authority, such as blocking exits or commanding tone. So here, we haven't seen a physical aspect of a detainment, but we have one. If you think about the fact there's now 3 officers there, because the owner says there's 3 of you there. So we got a sergeant, we got the original officer who made the contact, and there must have been a third one who approached as well. So now you got 3 officers. The first officer says that the business owner cannot go back into the business when he said he would wait on the sergeant. Then this officer that they waited on, the supervisor, says that he has to identify himself, and he must identify himself. And then asked another question that he had to prove himself. Now, all these things are violations of the consensual encounter doctrine because the person does not feel free to leave. They stayed, not because they wanted to, because they was told that they had to. They are not free to not answer questions. They was told that they had to. And use of authority, why would they have to? Because law enforcement has asked them and directed them to do so. Now, this is a problem. This is a violation, and this is no longer a consensual stop. And you already know, even if you're on the sidelines about this conversation, the moment that this becomes custodial and there's questions being asked because there's a suspicion of a crime, and under this circumstance, even though I don't see the suspicion yet, why I'd be suspicious, but let's just go with it. Suspicion that these people are here and they're trying to rob the store, as the sergeant suggested by his scenarios, then they have rights, and those Miranda rights would have to be read, because now they're asking questions that could incriminate them if they were guilty of this crime, right? We can't have it both ways. Either they are in custodial control or they are in consensual encounter. This is no longer consensual. Let's see if the sergeant gets any better.
I do not sound defensive.
Really?
Hey.
Come on now.
Calm
You're
down.
being very defensive.
No, calm down.
My officer is
Calm
doing
down.
his job.
Your officer's not doing his job.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, listen.
Yes, he is.
Listen.
He is doing his job.
Okay. All right. So I want to wrap up this conversation. We're wasting time. So what's going on? What's up? What's the next step?
Prove
Can
to
you
us
just-
that you have keys
How
or
is
a
my
way to
store-
get
okay,
in the
okay,
house.
wait.
There you go. That's a perfect thing.
I just asked
I
for
don't
that.
have, okay.
You know what?
Look,
Put the
wait.
key in the door and we're out of here.
Put the key in the door?
Put the key in the door. If,
I asked you if
this
your
is your
keys-
store, you have the
That
key in the
is,
door.
I'm telling you.
There you go.
Stand back, please.
There you
Do
go.
not raise your voice at me.
Put
okay?
the key in the door,
Don't
we're
raise
outta
your
here.
voice at me. Just chill. I'm going to put my key in the door.
That's his store.
What's that?
That's his store.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
sir.
That's all I need to know.
The dude knows
Thank you.
Wait just a minute. Wait, what just happened? What just happened? So we have a circumstance here where we have the sergeant doubling down on the fact that he has to prove himself. Lights are on in the store. The people are visible. They're not taking the word of the person they have made contact with, which is the business owner. They're not taking the word of the people in the back who originally had stated it's his store. They listen, however, to some random person from down the street that they didn't know who yelled out, "That's his store." Now, here's the thing about it. They said, okay, that's all we need to know. And they walked off after they heard the word of a stranger who's not at the business. Now, that's huge. And for a lot of reasons. If they believe truly that this person was potentially a robber who was there, not even trying to cloak their face or obstruct their identity, in the lighted business working, if they believe that was suspicious by just seeing them there, why would they take the word of a stranger? Think about that. Now, they asked the person, the business owner, to put the key to the business into the door to prove who they were. And right before he did that, someone yelled out, "Hey, that's his store." And that resolved the issue for them. This is a problem because, as again, this does not meet a consensual encounter. And it's more of a problem that the fact that they're taking a stranger's statement without any other inquiries. They didn't ask, who are you? How would you know that that's the store? Do you recognize this person that we're talking to? There's a lot of questions that law enforcement would have to take and give to that person in order to establish what gives them the knowledge that they can verify the identity of this person is standing in front of them that they don't believe is the store owner. They believe that this person is about to commit a crime or has committed a crime or a crime is afoot. That's what the reasonable suspicion was that brought them there. They then held the person, they detained the person, and they have not established anything from this person yelling from down the street. This doesn't look like it's a consensual encounter. And it definitely looks like there's been some violations. Now, we're going to finish up the last part of this. And I think that some people might be thinking, well, the police officers may have had the right to do that. But let's see first. Let's go into a little bit more detail and finish this scenario out.
Thank you for your time.
Can you put the key in the door, please?
Huh?
Can you put the key in the door, please?
I'm not going to put the key in the door. He already told you. The chief of police is walking away. That's your supervisor. He said you walk away.
We're good.
So let's finish it out. Now we just finished out the ending of the police body cam video. We saw first the recording from inside the store from a person that was inside the store at the time that they approached. And we watched the video camera from the officer who made the original contact with the people. Even after the sergeant said, that's good enough for me, and said, we're done here. The police officer who originally made the contact, he says, it's not good enough for me. Can you still put your key inside the door? I still don't believe you. He still has suspicions that these individuals in a well-lit store after hours at this point were still possibly involved with the crime. And the crime that they alluded to during the custodial detention is possible theft. They never said that, but they said, what if there's 3 other people in the store? We're here for the community. We're looking out for your business. And you want somebody to rob you? So they alluded to that their belief was, the suspicion was that they could be thieves in the night. Now, I want to bring something up. Terry versus Ohio. This comes up a lot. And if you're not familiar with this case, I'm not going to give you a full breakdown, but I think it's important. Now, although this is typically applied to frisking a person, this is a very important doctrine in this scenario because of this. If a police officer had the right to detain them, we know that they were detained. If they did, it would likely use this Supreme Court ruling, Terry versus Ohio, and this is why. If an officer has reasonable suspicion, officers must have reasonable suspicion, articulable facts of criminal activity, and then they could frisk and pat down a person. Frisk is justified by the need to ensure officer safety. The distinction from arrest, a stop and frisk does not require probable cause. Now, let's talk about this. Now, in this particular scenario, if you know about this ruling, then you already know why this is applicable. If you've never heard of it before, let me give you a quick overview. This particular case is about a Supreme Court ruling on an actual case where police officers were observing 3 individuals who were outside of a bank looking in the window, and then they'll walk away. And they'll come back a little bit later and they'll look in the window and they'll walk away. Well, police officer adjacent observing this behavior believed that there was something wrong with that behavior. It was suspicious. They suspected that there might be a person about to commit a crime. And what would the crime be? Robbing the bank. So a police officer approached these individuals who were peeking into this bank window, and they detained them and they frisked them for weapons. Now, they didn't have a warrant to search their pockets, but they frisked them for weapons and they found one. And this created a landmark case, Terry versus Ohio. So now, even today, when people get stopped and frisked for safety reasons, this is often used. So I figured that someone would say, you know what? The officer was reasonable to believe their suspicion because they were in the store after hours. But let's look at this a little bit more closely and see if that's applicable. As this doctrine states, officers must have specific, articulable facts of criminal activity. Reasonable suspicion versus probable cause. See, reasonable suspicion is a very low bar. Probable cause is more likely than not. But in order to make Terry versus Ohio work, there must be articulable facts. It means you have to be able to articulate the facts of criminal activity. Well, let's see what we got here. We got a business that has inventory in it. The lights are on. It's a clothing store. It's after hours, which is known. The individuals that they see have access to the business. They see them in it. The police officer does. However, the lights are on. There's no obscuring their faces. They're not moving in a way that was articulated that looked strange. All they have are 3 people in a business after hours that has stock. Even their suggestions, they said, "Are you here stocking?" And the very first thing, and the person responded, "We're taking care of some things." They didn't say specifically what they was doing. They said, "Why? It doesn't matter what we're here for." That didn't make the police officer feel that they should be there. He wanted to answer, and they said, "I don't have to tell you why. It's none of your business why I'm here. Did anyone call you?" And they even asked for a supervisor. Now, a criminal likely wouldn't have asked for a supervisor, and they wouldn't have kept the lights on. They would have obscured their face likely because they wouldn't want to be on cameras. There was an alarm system sticker on there. So they would do some other things to hide the fact they're in the business. So right here, I don't feel that you can say that Terry versus Ohio would be applicable here because there's no articulable facts of criminal activity. Someone in a store after hours is normal for a place that has stock. Now, if you look at Walmart again, Sam's Club, you look at any business with stock, they have overnight stockers. Someone is there putting inventory out on shelves for the next business day. And if you have a store, I could see that it's normal activity. If I see a Macy's closed at 9:00 p.m. and I happen to drive by and it's 1:00 in the morning and I see Macy's lights open and I see 5 people in the store of Macy's, I'm thinking it's the janitorial staff. I'm thinking that they're stocking. I'm not thinking criminal activity. So I don't believe there's a reasonable, articulable facts that support the criminal activity of robbery or theft that they alluded to. I think it was biased. So I think that's important. Well, what is the overall outcome? Well, this is what happened because of the scenario. Police wrestled with this racism charge, and the police chief and that supervisor, the sergeant that was there on scene, they resigned. And subsequently, this is what happened. Those business owners sued for $2 million. So a $2 million lawsuit was filed on the behalf of both business owners. The person you saw the most in the front, Khalif, and Awash, the lady that was in the background speaking, they filed a federal lawsuit against the police department for $2 million, and they settled for a $150,000 settlement. That's it, folks. There's no more there. So what was the overall thing that we learned about this? This was a costly mistake for the police. Just biases do not pay off if you are in law enforcement. How this should have been handled? Well, one, I believe that based on reasonable suspicion, there was never reasonable suspicion. The officer did have the right to originally approach the business owner, but they should have took more time to do observation and have maybe done some research. They have phones. They could have simply did a Google search. They could have did something that helped them to alleviate their suspicion before making that approach. But by them approaching, as we have learned under the federal laws that we currently have, U.S. versus Mendenhall, 1980, they had the right to approach as long as the conversation became consensual. But the conversation didn't maintain a consensual aspect. It became custodial. The owner was not free to leave after they said they would retreat back into the business, wait for the supervisor. The officer said no. The second aspect, the tone changed. It became more commanding. The sergeant on scene says, you do have to answer 2 questions for us. So that took away the consensual encounter doctrine that the police had under federal law, Supreme Court ruling. And once that happened, this was now a custodial interview with these individuals, an investigation. And once you are under custodial control and you're detained and you believe the person is guilty of a crime, or you suspect a person may have committed a crime, you have to do certain things. And part of those things you have to do is read those Miranda rights. Once the person's in your custodial control, you cannot then continue to ask questions to the person without informing them of their rights, because you'll be violating their constitutional rights at this point, unless you read them their Miranda rights. Even the questioners show us and prove to us that you're the owner of the business. If they believe that they weren't the owners of the business, this is a part of the investigation, that they believe that this person may be a robber trying to trick them in disguise. By them asking them this question, that would incriminate them by even putting their key in the door. So they cannot do that. They made a mistake, and this mistake cost them $150,000, and both the chief of police and the sergeant resigned. You should also know that there was a third person there, the officer, and I'm going to show them because I didn't show them the first time too much, Officer Jeremy Clark. Now, Officer Jeremy Clark isn't spoke about enough, but you can even see here that his hand was on his gun the entire encounter from what was stated and what was researched. And here's a picture of him with his hand on his gun, taken by a video from the person inside the business. So we have 3 officers who approached. We have the Sergeant Balassi. We have Officer Jeremy Clark with his hand on his gun. We have Sergeant Balassi, who said that you must answer 2 questions, prove that you are the business owner. We then have Officer Isaac Matafis. He said you cannot retreat back into the business. He told him no, and he wants to prove that he is not someone doing something they shouldn't be doing, such as stealing from the place. And we have the store owner who's approached. We have the second store owner who's in the background, and a third unknown person who's there as well. And they took the word of another unknown person who was walking by that satisfied the sergeant's suspicions enough for they said they're going to walk away. This was problematic. So the end result, as you saw, is $150,000 settlement because of this mistake and a $2 million lawsuit. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that you learned something from this. Share, make sure, because accountability is not just for the police. Accountability is for the citizen as well. And the better we understand, the better we can do when we're in these circumstances where we believe we might be in the right. The litigation shouldn't happen on the street, but you should know your rights, and you should uphold your rights by doing the right thing. Until next time, this has been the Underdog Research channel, Police and Citizens Encounter. Take care.